13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Jason, I got a quick question for you.
Oh, yeah.
Can I kick it?
Oh, you can kick it.
But can I kick it?
Oh, but I think you can kick it.
That's what I've been hearing. That's the word around town. Yes, I can. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Granny's Peach Tea, episode 124. And yeah, we're opening this one up with Can I Kick It by a Tribe Called Quest, which was from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem.
Which is great to see Tribe represented.
Absolutely. And also, hey, it's the 50th anniversary of hip-hop. Getting started, it was on Friday, so it all ties in together. It seems to work out for us.
Crazy, right? Crazy.
But yeah, thanks for joining us on this Sunday evening. I'm Ed, and with me always is Jason. Jason, what's up?
How's it going? Good to be here on this mellow, chill Sunday, listening to some Tribe Called Quest. Actually, Ed, impromptu, because I completely didn't realize you were opening with this. Were you on that high school trip, first year IAT, like literally when they had nothing to do with us, before we had a building, and they brought us to the Unisphere, and a Tribe Called Quest was filming, and it wound up being like
Yes.
that video
Yes.
they did. Like,
Yes.
not that we got anywhere near it, but we saw them filming that from afar.
Yeah, we had some pretty interesting adventures there, I'd have to say, especially like the first year or two.
Oh yeah,
Right.
So our high school its first year was our first year, and we didn't have a building for the first month and a half, and so they literally were just like, "Hey, we're going on walking tours of neighborhood. That's educational."
Yeah, I give him. Listen, it was creative. I'll give him that.
It was. Hey, no, I mean, now as an educator myself, hell, man, it's way more work than I would have put into it.
Yeah, so that was that was a lot of fun times, man. Fun times. But yeah, we got a lot of animated stuff to talk about. Actually,
We do.
It's fully animated show. We got Jason's Adventures with Superman.
Yep.
I'm just not going to stop with that.
No, I like it. I'm here for it.
Harley Quinn.
I'm riding with him. I'm his Lois Lane here.
Yeah, it's yes. You could be you and Lois and Jimmy.
That's right. Yeah, the three of us, man. We're gangbangs.
Harley Quinn season 4, episode 5, and our movie of the week is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, which I'm super excited to talk about. Finally, like spoilery, because I know last episode I was staying very vague about it. So
Yes.
But all right, I guess to go ahead and to kick things off, though, let's just make sure as we kick it together during this broadcast, you can support the show by sending us stars, which is a digital gift that helps us earn money for Pop Culture Bros. So come hang out and let's talk about some stuff.
Come kick it with us. Send some stars. And don't say hello to your mother for me, because it's not that week anymore.
Jason, I saw you going there, and I was like, I don't know if you can shut it off now. Like, it just might be the way you're talking now on the show.
I couldn't, man. I tried.
You felt it. You felt it going on there for a minute.
Like, Cade Yeager was taking over.
Oh, my God.
I was about to invent something.
Or not.
Or never invent something ever.
Oh, boy. Thank God that is over. Oh,
it's nice to be able to talk about that in past tense, right? It's more
because we can laugh about it. You're laughing about it now. You weren't laughing before.
No, we weren't. We were crying.
Yeah, it was a tough time for us, but we got through it.
Oh,
because we love everyone out there. That's what
we are dedicated to our service to our viewers.
Exactly. But yeah, first up, we got My Adventures with Superman, episode 7. And Jason, yeah, I thought this was a pretty damn interesting episode.
Oh, this is my favorite episode of the series so far. Like, if there was an episode crafted to hook me into this show, this is it. Because it does two things, right? One, it kind of answers a question about the tone of this show and really where we're going, I like the answer to that. And two, it gives me what I said on Supergirl always makes me happy in Superman lore, which is Mxyzptlk.
Yes, and this was definitely the anime version of Mixie.
Yeah, this is absolutely like a anime sprite version of it, but I don't care for it. Like, it was funny. I love the whole idea of the episode is Lois and Clark are going to go on their first date. Jimmy and Lois are doing girl time, and I don't. It's like, and this isn't like an insult, but like, have they like said he was gay or something, or are they just good friends? Yeah, because he's kind of like one of the girl vibes, and I'm just curious, like if they had done anything like about or anything. Because I mean, it doesn't matter. I was just curious if it was.
No, I don't think they have. I don't think there's been any. I'm trying to think. Like, did early on, was it like, were they trying to allude that Jimmy had like a crush on Lois? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. So it's just, yeah, it is what it is. All right, not a big deal. But so, and Mxyzptlk shows up to Clark's house and goes, "Hey, Superman, I need your help." And Clark's like, "I'm not Superman." He's like, "Yeah, come on, idiot. Come on, you're Superman. Let's go." And he's like, "No, I'm not Superman." He's like, "All right, so then I guess you can't go save Lois." And he shows him this like fabricated thing of Lois like being lorded over by these aliens and about to be hurt, and he just suits up and goes. And so the whole thing on his side is Mxyzptlk is tricking him and manipulating him into helping him rob banks and eventually get his hand on his hat, which gives him ultimate power. On the Lois side of it, Lois and Jimmy are taken in by the Multiverse Lois Society.
League of Lois Lane.
That's it, the League of Lois Lane. That's right. I was misquoting.
Right.
And they all won like Pulitzers at age 18 or something like that, and they're all brilliant and they're all kick ass, and she feels like shit, and she's like, she is the inferior Lois because she thinks she wants her help, and they're like, "No, we got to put your Clark down, and yeah, we don't want you getting involved in that."
And we also got to reveal though that she's 23 because we weren't really sure the ages of Lois and Clark and Jimmy, so I guess they're in their early 20s.
Yeah, even though they act like they're teenagers, but whatever.
Yeah.
It seems they're in their early 20s. But so then I thought that was fun, and then pretty much like there's a battle between Mxyzptlk. He gets the hat, the ship, and the hat. And Lois and Clark work as a team to get the hat off of him. Clark distracts him as Superman, and Lois kind of pulls the hat off through these weird sort of like Acme portals that are all over the place. But the most interesting thing, and I think the thing that really is the thing we got to talk about on for the most part here, is Mxyzptlk helps Lois at some point get this sphere of Superman throughout the multiverse, right? He also, by the way, tells Clark for the first time he's from Krypton.
Yes, because he doesn't know that. Like this, for those not watching the show, this is very, very early on Superman. Like super early on. Like he doesn't even know what his power set is yet. And now he just found out what Krypton is. Like, and what it's called.
Yeah, right. Because the Loises shoot him with it.
Well, Kryptonite.
Kryptonite, yeah. But Kryptonite, same thing. Yeah. Like that, he learns both in this. But then, so at the end, Lois opens it up, and it's a lot of like what we were talking about, like Clark coming and wrecking house and taking over and destroying. And Mxyzptlk shows up, and she's like, "I thought you were in prison." He goes, "Yeah, it didn't take. Your drama's more fun. What do you think?" And he says to her, just like not every Lois Lane wins a Pulitzer, not every Clark is good. And you see like him in various different outfits, like mowing down buildings with his laser vision. So and it ended darkly. I thought it was a bold move.
I thought another crazy move was though Mixopiddle shows Superman this Clark Kent other versions. One of them being the Justice League animated series Superman, / Superman the animated series Superman. I thought that was cool, and also some of the old school cartoons, like there was the Super Friends Superman that was shown there, and it was pre like 40s 50s Superman and stuff like that. So I got a kick out of it because this show, of course, has joined the rest of it and jumped into the multiverse theme. So now, this show has arrived with that. Not that I'm sick of it, because I'm not. And plus,
no, and to be honest with you, like I want to see more of it in stuff like this. Like this is a cartoon, right?
Yeah.
This is prime playground for multiverse stuff because you can do whatever you want with a cartoon, and that's the thing. And if they're gonna go a bit not dark, because I don't want this to go dark like I'm gonna kill people. I just don't want it to be so teeny bopper. Like, because even in this, like, Lois, would you go out on a date with me? It's like, but I would like to see it just maybe be a bit more adult and explore. Like, I kind of want to see how Lois reacts to Clark. I want to see when Clark finds this out how he reacts. Like that potentially he could have been a murdering force of evil.
Homelander.
He could have been Homelander, right? So I'm really hoping this picks that up and goes just a bit more adult and explores that.
So, do you think are you on board with my?
I
theory?
Actually, as of this episode, I am.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you were skeptical on it beforehand, but
it's not that I was wondering if they were going to go there. I didn't see sufficient enough in the text, that we've seen to point that they were going to go there. But after them saying, "Hey, no, there are evil Clarks," like, yeah, and also, hey, this isn't necessarily this is an Elseworlds, right? This isn't our normal Clark. So, like, no, yeah, this could be the Elseworlds where Superman's great, but Kryptonians suck. And
that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and I think after this episode, completely plausible.
Okay. No, and I agree with you. I was kind of just it has to do mainly with the stuff we've seen from Krypton. That's where my
and I think you were very astute about that. I think you called it way earlier than I did, way earlier than most people would have, I think.
We'll see. It could also fall flat in its face. But.
It could. But we'll see.
That's what we're here to do. We're here to speculate, throw some shit at the wall. Some of it sticks, some of it doesn't. Some of it is, some of it is Mephisto. Some of it is Mojo.
No, it's all Mojo, because Mojo is life.
It's true. This is true. All right, so you're on board. You're more enjoying the show now. I felt like the last couple episodes you're kind of in there.
Yeah. It took me a while, but like the fact that this show is going to give us some obscure villains, Superman villains, tease that there's a darker thing coming, and it kind of explore this world. Yeah, at this point, I'm into it.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit. It's enough of a slightly different spin that we're like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
it's not just rehashing the same old shit. So.
Right. Especially if this winds up to be in like an Elseworlds Clark, you know what I'm saying? Like where it's like if you're correct and it's like, no, the Kryptonians are out of their fucking minds, I'd be like, yeah, no, actually this is a way different take. I just didn't realize it at first, and it was a slow burn. So but definitely on board to see where it goes.
Likewise. So if you're into Superman and if you're into anime, you should probably check it out on Max. My Adventures with Superman, pretty cool stuff, and it's an easy watch. I mean, each episode is like 22 minutes. So.
Yeah, it's breezy.
Yeah, you can binge it like that and catch right up. All right, so that brings us to another animated show on Max, Harley Quinn, Season 4, Episode 5. Jason, we were talking before we went on. Not a lot of meat and potatoes in this outside of really like one scene, in my opinion.
I agree. Here's the thing. It's been consistently fantastic for seasons.
Mm-hmm.
This episode was not bad by any stretch of the imagination.
No, not bad.
But it was not. It wasn't up to what these episodes usually are. I mean, and I think, and I hope it course corrects. But I think the thing is, it's really, really just focusing on like Harley and Ivy to the point where like Clayface isn't even in it. King Shark isn't in it. Like we get like maybe half a scene with Ivy's really crude plant friend.
It's true. And not
I
a lot of
forget his
Bane.
name, but and well, no, but not a lot of Bane. But Bane has, you have to admit, the best scene in the fucking episode, where Harley calls him, and he's like, "Actually, I'm having a bit of trouble," and it pans out, and he's in Italian customs, and they're asking why he has the pasta maker.
It will. Please don't ever let that pasta maker go away.
I'm telling you, this show makes me like Bane more and more as a character. But and also they reintroduced Jim Gordon, which I think that's part of also why I wasn't crazy about this episode, because I think I've said like the only thing I don't like, the only take I don't like on kind of how they're playing with these characters is making Jim Gordon so fucking pathetic. And
yeah,
I mean, it just and I'm not saying they're wrong or it's bad, but it's not for me. I just don't like it.
So I was thinking about this show earlier today, and I'm like, because we get what Jim Gordon is like, he's retired, and we get a scene in the beginning where he's about to sleep with his wife like the first time in 20 years, and then gets called so he can be the security guard at for Ivy and like the Legion of Doom and stuff like that, and he runs for that, and then his wife later on is supposedly sleeping with these, like, she's talking about getting ice dick and stuff like that.
Yeah, when I saw the title of this episode was like getting ice dick, don't wait up.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, this must be a something they leave to Robin, to Nightwing, but maybe Harley leaves out the comma to be to write home that you're an ice dick or something. But
yeah,
no, this is Barbara Gordon's mom leaving her a message, going to hang out with Captain Cold and the Cold Boys to get ice dick.
Yeah. So again, more with the Jim Gordon stuff, and he's like sleeping in a sleeping bag at his job and stuff like that. I just got to keep reminding myself, like, this show is totally based on Harley Quinn's point of view, in my opinion, and that's why the heroes all look like idiots essentially and morons and stuff.
And to be fair, like, I want to say that no one loves Batman more than me, and I'm completely fine with them poking fun at him because whatever. I think it's done. It's funny and it's unintelligent. I just don't think this works. I just don't think this is funny. Like,
they're just beating down a dead horse, like, or
like I thought like it barely had a half a joke in it when it was introduced. It was one of the only things in that first season, those first couple of seasons, I didn't like. And now they're bringing him back, and it's like I just don't find this funny. Like, okay, Jim Gordon's pathetic, so like he'd rather sleep in the League of Doom with the Legion of Doom or whatever on a cot than with his wife in a cabin. I don't find it funny. That's all.
Yeah, you're just like, whatever. Whatever. The joke's not landing for you, and it seems like they just, because there might be. Listen, I don't know how, but some people might not like the Bane joke, and if they're going to keep on with the joke as a running joke, if a running joke doesn't work for you, then
that's it. And I, but I think, like, look, this is a fun episode. I'm not saying don't watch it. That particular stuff doesn't work for me. But, so we get Harley again trying to ingratiate herself more in the Bat family, and I think that's also a kind of a failing of this episode. Is the last 3 episodes have been Harley and Ivy trying to get a better foothold in their job, and it's like, okay, but like, this is kind of taking a while. This show usually moves fast paced.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we covered Batman's traumatic childhood faster than we did these two ingratiating themselves in their new lives. But so Harley like can't fight in the dark because she's got bad night vision, which I thought was fun. So she gets LASIK, and then like no one will pick her up. That's where the Bane joke comes in, because she tries to dial Barbara, but she gets Bane. It winds up that Barbara's roommate picks her up just because she called Barbara's phone 10 billion times. And then Harley has to make a stop, which I love this. She gets the hyenas, and the hyenas are like her seeing eye hyenas, which are great. And then Dick is like, hey, Barbara's been missing for hours, and so then they go look for Barbara, and they pretty much find her upstate where they think she's been abducted, but no, she's getting her mom who's getting ice dick, and that's Harley Quinn's like kind of thing. But then the thing at the end is you find out that Harley Quinn, two things. Harley Quinn has been sleepwalking and acting out, and the roommate suggests it's because she's suppressing a side of her, and Harley's like, no, I've been like gay balls for Ivy like forever, and she's like, no, you're suppressing your villain side. So they're setting some stuff up, and then you see another thing was she's really trying to get the Bat family to wear these friendship bracelets, and then at the end you see Nightwing's dead body, I'm guessing, or passed out body or whatever, with the friendship bracelet on a tree, and he just falls down in front of them, and that's the episode.
I think they killed Nightwing.
I think they did too.
Wild.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's no one's dead until you see the body is not moving, right? But this show, yeah, I would not be surprised if Nightwing's dead.
Yeah. There's no, I don't know. There's nowhere this show won't go. Put it that way.
No, not at all.
Outside of, them being stopped of, Batman going down on Catwoman.
No. That was the funny thing is I don't even think it was they were wanting to show that. They couldn't say Batman went down on Catwoman.
Yeah, they couldn't allude to it.
They could show hardcore graphic sex last episode. They can't allude to the fact that a man has gone down on a Catwoman.
Weird. But, all right. So, not a terrible episode, but like an okay episode. Yeah. At least for the bar that this show has
right, and that's a thing. Because, and then there's Ivy, and Ivy's stuff is just, it's more of the same. Like, she's getting real famous and popular. And that's that. I mean, that's literally it. Like, so yeah, fine, but I've seen much better on this show.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. All right, wow, kind of quick, but yeah. So that brings us to our movie of the week, which I know it came out about a week ago or so, but we got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, the latest reincarnation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There have been many over the years. Let's drop the spoiler ticker across the bottom, just in case you have not seen it and you want to, but we're about to speak freely and openly about the film. So if you didn't check it out, come back and check us out another time. But if you did see it, let's go. So I personally, at least I guess like we usually do with this stuff, this is a property that I've been on board with since I was a kid. I remember when this first came out, I was all about it. It kind of came in, 1989, if I remember correct? This came on when, or at least the animated series that mostly everyone seems to know, not the darker comic book origin that they had, but the one with the different colored headbands and stuff like that. I felt like the Turtles took over in their spot of Transformers, G.I. Joe, He-Man, like those were all fading out by 89 or starting to. And they came in and were like, they filled that void for a lot of people. I can say definitely as a kid, that's where I was at with that. We also got Batman 89 in that year too, but this was on the animated TV side.
But the Turtles did, I think your analogy for like Transformers, He-Man, Thundercats, stuff like that, it's way more apt because like the Turtles was like in the same vein of those cartoons, the Turtles were like an action figure commercial.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I'm not saying that as a negative. I love that show, and I owned all those action figures. But like, it was a similar concept. Like, we're gonna give you some main people, and we're gonna give you a villain of the week, and then sell you the villain of the week. And the formula worked, man.
No, it did, and I personally adored it. Yeah, I mean, I had the 4 Turtles and Shredder and Splinter and whatever the hell, April O'Neil, all of them.
There is only one Ninja Turtle I did not have by the line I stopped collecting.
Okay.
He is in this movie, kind of.
Ooh, interesting. And so for me, well, toy-wise though, for me when it was like Party Time, Michelangelo and stuff like that, that's when I was like,
no. Yeah, I was out on that stuff.
Yeah. I think maybe the first line of that I may have been on board with, and then afterwards I'm like, no, I think I've got the point right now.
once they tried to sell me like, here's Donatello with Vulcan ears. I'm like, hey, I love Star Trek. I love Turtles. I'm not buying this shit. What am I going to do with this? I'm a kid. I might buy that now. Don't get me wrong. Right now, that's super cool to me. But as a kid, I didn't want that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for a lot of, kids our age and stuff, because we were, 9 years old at the time, 10 years old. You were just like, all right. Plus, it came in an era where you had that small thing before high school started, and you're like, the action figure stuff is going to start fading out until we get past the point where it was like, no, we took a break, and now as adults we're like, oh, it's okay, we can buy action figures.
Look, because let's face it, we all stopped buying action figures because we were like, oh, I guess I have to. No one else is buying them. And then when we got older, and we were like, wait a minute, no one cares if I buy action. Well, I think I'm going to go buy action figures. I'll be right back.
Pretty much. Come on, we're all being honest. That's pretty much usually how it goes. Some will do it, some won't, and that'll be that. Now, if you're sitting around playing with them and actually creating stories, maybe that's a whole other story.
Yeah, we don't judge here. We don't judge.
No judgment.
Privacy your own home.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, that's my history with the Turtles and stuff like that, essentially. So I've always kind of enjoyed them and found them fun. Assuming same for you then? That's kind of how it went down.
Oh yeah, no, I was huge. Like, this was huge for me. I had every Ninja Turtle. I had the Turtle Van.
Yes, Turtle Van was awesome.
I had every Ninja Turtle except for one, as I said.
So, all right, yeah, go through it, and I'm trying to figure out who it was.
Okay. So then I had the Turtle Van. I had some kind of helicopter. I never had the Technodrome, never had Krang's body, but God, did I want Krang's body so badly. Mm-hmm. And I mean that sexually. And then I also had the sewer, which was awesome.
Yes.
Like the sewer playset, which was an awesome playset. Did I have vehicles? I must have had vehicles. I don't know. I like so much. And I love this stuff so much that when I was in 5th grade, I remember, and I still might have this letter. We were being taught how to write persuasive or business letters. No, I mean, just not persuasive, just business letters. And so I decided that I was going to write a business letter to the toy company that made the Turtles, because it was impossible when they first released to find an April O'Neil or a Splinter. And so I wrote them asking them, hey, you ever getting any more April O'Neils out there? And as a kid, I was hoping they'd send me one, but they didn't. But they did respond like, we are actually working on those right now, little guy. Thanks for trying. Thanks for your help. And
nice.
Yeah. Right. So that's kind of my, like, and then I played all the video games, like, yeah. So I was a big fan of this. And this show had what I love is I really enjoy the main characters, but they have such interesting villains and side characters, and so I actually have been thinking about going back and rewatching the old cartoon, because I think that's streaming now somewhere for free. It's like on Peacock or something, or Pluto or something.
I forgot which one has it, because I know Nickelodeon basically owns the rights to this now, and Paramount Plus has a lot of Ninja Turtle stuff. But yeah, the whole series is maybe Netflix. I don't know. One of them has.
Or maybe it's somewhere.
Yeah, it's somewhere now. Somebody recently got the streaming rights for the original TV show, and I know there's been like a bunch of ones after that. But what we're talking about is like the original TV show, like
the original cartoon,
early '90s. Yeah, I agree with you. I think they had awesome side characters and stuff. When the live action movie came out, I lost my shit. And one too, and we'll be covering those in a few weeks, because we'll be doing our Turtles rewatch. So that should be a lot of fun.
Which I'm excited. I'm excited for a lot of that. Not all of it, but a lot of it.
No, I am. Well, I think a lot of it I'm excited for, because I also want to see how the original holds up for me. Because I legitimately have not watched that in forever.
I am also excited for that. I'm excited for 2, because it's batshit crazy. Like, I know people hate that movie, but that movie is batshit crazy.
Again, I haven't watched them in forever, and neither one of us have seen the third one. So curious to see how that goes. But all right, so yeah, as far as Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem goes, when I heard Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg were getting together to reboot this, and I know they're a bit younger than us, and I'm like, all right, so Turtles, the other incarnations were probably like right near wheelhouse and stuff. I was pretty excited for it. And overall thoughts on this film and this version, I really enjoyed it. I dug it a lot, and I didn't see the last animated Ninja Turtles that was out, but like this one, I think it was a worthy reboot because they did change with the mythology, which we'll get into in a little bit, because there were certain changes from that. I think some of it works, some of it doesn't. But for the most part, I would say I really had a blast with this film. The animation, I think, was fantastic. It was different. I know some were like, oh, Spider-Verse ripoff. No, not really. It's its own thing.
No, it's its own thing. It was very distinct in its style, I thought.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed a lot of it. Yeah, I had a blast with it. And I think and Jason, your overall thoughts, and actually, you know, I didn't have children to bring to it, so I'm curious to get your spin on that as well. Like, because I know we talked last episode, like, how would we think we're kids with this? This is trying to sell toys, obviously, too, but
of course
you can see there was a lot of writing and thought put into it.
All right, so before we get into my thoughts about this, my personal thoughts, like sitting there as a person, not a dad, I am going to say this. Fully recommend this movie for anyone who is interested. If you have a child who is interested, take them to see it. This was my son's first movie. It was.
Yes!
We had a fantastic time. He was so excited. I got him excited about it. You know, we had pizza beforehand, and then like I bought him popcorn and candy, and we sat there. And I specifically got like a seat because I knew we'd probably need to get up and walk around. So I got a seat like we were literally all the way up at the top on the aisle, right? Because I figured no one wants those seats anyway. When I tell you that this kid watched the entire movie from start to finish, he got up. He'd like walk over and he'd lean on the chair in front of him, and there was no one there, so it was fine. He'd watch. And then he'd like walk over next to me and he'd watch, and he'd jump in my lap, but he was always watching it. And every now and then he'd turn to me and he'd go, "Daddy, this movie is really funny." Or, "Daddy, I like the theater. I like this movie." Or like and so in the beginning, this was his critique. I'm going to give Finn Fisher-Hicks' critique.
Oh, wow, okay.
About 5 minutes in the movie, "Daddy, when are the Ninja Turtles coming?" So he loved it. He sees the commercials now, and he's like, "Remember, Daddy, that we saw the Ninja Turtles together?" I have a game that is a Ninja Turtles game that's based on the old. It's a beat 'em up, like a '90s beat 'em up, based on the old aesthetics, the cartoon aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
So we were playing that before, and like him and I were playing a beat 'em up together. We had this great dad-son moment, and he's 3, by the way, and you know he got lucky, but we were fighting these two bosses, and it just so happens that I kept taking their energy down in tandem, and it just so happens that he took the last blow on one while I was getting the last blow on the other. We killed the bosses at the same time and had a high fived.
Nice. Wow. All right. So this is it. Ninja Turtles is going to be Finn's thing.
No. And we, so on the way out, I'm going to give a big shout out to Regal, and I'm going to give a big shout out to the Midway over in Forest Hills, because I was taking like an awkward selfie with Finn and I to commemorate the showing. And someone was coming out of the bathroom. I just thought it was someone who was, going to see a movie. He's like, "Oh, you want me to take that picture for you?" I'm like, "Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it." Like, it's my son's first movie. He goes, "Oh, wow, that's excellent." As we're leaving, he comes up to me. He must have been like a Regal bigwig, because I saw like bigwigs walking around. And as a guy who worked retail for as long as I did, I know what that looks like.
Yeah.
He came over with the manager, and they're like, "We'd like to take your contact information because, the fact that this is your son's first movie, and my mother, when she brought me to my first movie, got me a poster. We'd like to give you a poster to this movie." Dude. So they took my contact info, and they're gonna write like Finn's first movie on it, and then call me when they're ready to give it to me. Which I'm like, wow. So like, I'm gonna put that in a frame. We have a memento of his first movie.
I was gonna say, you better frame that shit, man.
No, that's getting framed and being putting up in his room. So
nice.
Yeah, so great movie going experience. My son really loved it, and I had a good time with him.
Nice. That is fucking awesome, man. That seriously is awesome. And I'm glad I was this movie.
Yeah, me too, because he liked it, and it's something I liked. I like the Ninja Turtles lore in general, and also it establishes I can take him to see other movies.
Exactly. Now you've opened up the gates.
Exactly, and he said, "I want to see the movie. I want to go to the movies again, Daddy." He loves it, and he's been watching more movies. Like he used to be able to like watch, I don't know, 15 minutes at a time, and now he could sit in our living room. He watched like an hour of Boss Baby today.
Nice.
Which that's huge. He's like 3.5, so he's almost 4. So he's getting there.
That's still pretty good, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
So having said all that, I did not enjoy this movie at all. I didn't like this movie at all.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm not saying I think it's bad, because obviously it's not. Like this movie, I am not its target audience, right? Like.
Okay.
Children are obviously, things like people who have caught, and I'm going to say people who have kept up with the movies, because like here's what I don't like about this movie. It is so far removed from anything I know as Ninja Turtles that it felt like I was watching a watered down, less interesting version of something I already liked.
Okay.
But I also have not seen anything since, like, I've seen the live action movies, the cartoon, and the 2 Michael Bay things. So, but like, there's like a universe of cartoons where this has been explored and been changing, and so like, I think this is very likely the evolution of that. Okay. But as someone who kind of just jumped into it, I was like, oh, this just wasn't for me.
Okay, interesting. So yeah, I enjoyed the film. I have not kept up with any of the stuff in between. I mean, again, my Ninja Turtles has been like the OG ones we were talking about, and like the live action, most of the live action stuff. I think that there was some creative choices with the lore, and I guess that opens up the door to talk about that. We can let's.
I do want to talk about that, because that's part of my that is a big part of my problem with this.
Okay, so some of the things that I think that we can tackle some of the issues is, all right, so the Turtles themselves. I personally enjoyed the Turtles themselves because I did like the fact that they've always had their own 4 different personalities, but I like the fact that aesthetically they were giving different looks besides having different colored headbands and different weapons. So I enjoyed that. Like Leonardo, who's always been my guy. That's always been my favorite turtle.
Nice.
Yeah, Leo's always been my guy. Always just dug the katana blades and the whole like leader of the group shit. So his beginning I thought was interesting, because it is a very origin Ninja Turtles. Like they are very literally, we see them have their first fight, and that's how young they are in this. And again, they're teenagers in this, so that part I dug. And
I think the Ninja Turtle stuff works.
Okay, so yeah, the Turtle stuff.
Yeah, I think the Turtle stuff.
Character by character. So the Turtles themselves.
Yeah,
Raphael is bigger than the other 3, and he has like more of a bandana, not just like a mask. So I dug that. They allude to his anger stuff, but we don't see a lot of it.
Yeah,
just kind of mention that it exists.
Yeah, they throw it, and I think that's one of the big problems of this movie that I had is I think they try to do too much. Like there's a lot going on that doesn't necessarily have to be and doesn't pay off. And I think like this is something that should have paid off. Like you set up one of the Ninja Turtles, and I like the fact that they're different. I like the fact that they're going stir crazy. I like the fact that they want to get out of the sewer, and they kind of have and I like their brother relationship. Mm-hmm. Right? It's clear that they're brothers. Like if I die, I don't want the last thing to be is you're fucking mugs. It's like I'm paraphrasing, but like I like that, right? But like you set up this anger issue thing, and then it never comes back, and it's like, well, that should have been either you set it up and it comes back, or you don't set it up.
Yeah, I can agree with that part. That part is there. Leo learning how to be a leader, I thought was interesting.
Yeah,
and I think he was
thinking with his dick. I thought that was cool.
What was that?
Leo thinking with his dick.
Yeah, pretty. Well, it's different because I feel like in different iterations of Turtles, there's a different turtle that seems to kind of have like a sort of a crush on April O'Neil. And
yeah, I was fine with it.
Yeah, I didn't care. Raphael was another time. Michelangelo was another time that I remember. I don't know if another iteration of it was Donatello, but apparently this time it was Leonardo. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. And, yeah, again, him learning because in their first fights, he's very much like, all right, do this, do that, do this. And then Donatello's like, dude, you don't even know what the fuck that means. What are you talking about? So I found that interesting. Donatello wearing glasses and stuff and having like that in the headphones. Again, aesthetically differentiating them, I thought was a smart move.
Yep. I don't mind the new look of the Turtles. I don't mind the new attitudes. The one and only small gripe I had with the Turtles was we're not like it's Mikey instead of Michelangelo and Raffi instead of Raphael, and it's like I get it, but couldn't we have just name dropped their full names just once?
Well, hold on. They kind of do though a little bit when they're going to sign up for the high school thing. Where it's like Leo, Nardo,
right, yes, that's
like,
right.
Oh, your
and
last
Michael,
name's Lardo, yeah.
Okay, all right. Then they're not withdrawn because that was a small one anyway. And like honestly, not even one that.
No, and I agree. And for me, I think for them calling them by short names, I felt was like more of how a bunch of teenage brothers would more talk to each other instead. So.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Then I guess that takes us to. I mean, do you have anything else further on the Turtles you want to elaborate on, or
nope?
Okay,
nope.
So then that naturally would take us to Splinter.
All right, huge problem.
I kind of assumed that's where this is
huge fucking problem, man. I mean, this for one thing. You're giving me Jackie Chan. Mm-hmm. Jackie Chan is the voice of this.
Yeah,
I was excited
he is.
for that. Because Jackie, you're actually giving me a kung fu fucking master as Splinter, except he's not a kung fu master. He's like a nebbishly scared sewer rat who stumbles upon the turtles and decides not to eat them, and decides that they need to learn kung fu because it's on cable, or I don't know, the videos were cheap. I mean, I'm sorry, but none of that is as compelling or as interesting as. No, I was a person who trained, and now I'm a fucking rat, and I'm stuck in the sewer because I'm a monstrosity, but I'm going to raise you guys. But like, that's the thing. It's like you're changing the lore to something that is not even a quarter as interesting as what was there before. And I hated Splinter in this.
So I will say I feel like this is one of the main things that a lot of people will, contest with is centered around Splinter. Yeah, so in this film, Splinter is an actual regular rat, and people hate rats. I personally hate rats, so
I do too.
I think, and they touch on that, and so he's pretty much scared. He sees humans as being evil and things like that, which you can imagine. Yeah, which you get. I'm not disagreeing. Yeah, you can imagine that a rat would see from their perspective, and then when this rat gets mutated, he's like, listen. They're the fucking devil. That's it. And then he kind of doesn't really have like a kind of like sensei, because I know in like the live action movie, the original, he was like the rat who was watching, which I'm sure in every iteration Splinter gets changed left and right.
Of course. Yeah. But my problem with Splinter here is it's not even that he's a nebbish rat. It's like they completely went. We're going to change this so much that the ninja stuff doesn't make sense. And then we're going to just shoehorn that shit in there because it is in the title. And that's what I took umbrage with. It's like, if you wanted to give me a more scared Splinter, but give me a reason that this rat knows kung fu and will train these fucking turtles on kung fu. Like, even if the reason is as stupid as I was the rat for the guy who was a kung fu master, and so I learned by watching it. That's dumb, but it's something. This was literally just, and then I bought 99-cent DVDs or whatever it was. It was literally just like they watched videos, and it's like, I could watch videos. It doesn't mean I'm going to become a fucking, great martial artist. And I don't believe this rat's becoming a great martial artist either.
Yeah, so and I think that's where it is, because he does train the turtles in martial arts.
Right, and who trained him?
Yeah, well, I think I would have to say that critique I can't disagree with. That connection wasn't as strong. I think they went more for a joke in that part than that. And he does train them to defend themselves because he feels that again, humans, and they want to be part of the human world. So he trains them or feels like they need some sort of protection from humans and way to defend themselves. So in self-defense.
But
I agree,
give
though.
me, give me something. Give me I was even if it is, I was the rat at a fucking dojo, and when I got big, I stayed in the walls and I learned kung fu by watching the humans because they scared me. Something.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even try here.
Yeah, and I think
they do the same thing. I feel with when they go yeah, how does the mutagen work? Well, the turtles were young, so they stayed young, and I was old, so I became old. And even though everyone was touched by the mutagen 15 years ago, we're all different ages, because even the writers, even Splinter's yeah, that doesn't make any sense, but go with it, guys.
Yeah, I think that was more of a self-aware. Again, they chose to go with it as a self-aware joke with the aging part.
I just didn't think it worked.
Yeah, and it could work, it could not work. I didn't mind the aging part. Well, that didn't bother me. The fact that Splinter is more or less Steven Seagal is
yes.
I guess was the part, because whatever, Steven Seagal found that it wasn't really an actual trained in anything and just kind of mimicked shit. I guess that part I can say was probably one of the things that didn't work entirely for me either. That whole thing was just a little bit weird. But then once it gets past that, I just let it go and moved on. But I can see that being an issue. I don't disagree with you at all with that. But the first time I saw this, the Splinter in the first half of the movie, when he was just like this recluse and didn't know what the turtles were doing, and they were kind of going with that, and he was just throws the surprise party for them and everything like that. That part I kind of found somewhat to be, it was weird. And then I found the party part to be kind of a little bit of a sweet thing, like a dad seeing his boys grow up and move out. And I started getting a little bit more on board with him. And then in the second half of the film, they finally show him kicking ass when he saves the turtles. So I will say one joke that actually worked for me both times I saw this movie was the milking thing.
Oh, yeah, that was kind of fun.
That Splinter was obsessed with them getting milked, and they even dude, they don't have nipples. What the hell are you talking about?
And then they wind up getting milked, which is, that's hysterical.
That was pretty
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. And I'll be honest with you again. As I'm talking this through, my whole problem with Splinter lies in the fact that he has no attachment to martial arts, and thus makes this redundant, because I actually kind of dug him being the dad. I dug him I don't know where my sons are. I'm with you on that. I like that. I wish they put in a bit, just something else to connect him to martial arts, because how am I I'm a nebbish middle-aged man who has a son. If I go and watch martial arts videos on YouTube, can I then train him to be a master of the fucking katana? No.
Yeah.
And I think that's my big problem. I think that might be my only problem with Splinter. It's just so big that it kind of touches on everything.
Yeah, and then the thing with him kind of being lonely and then getting with the cockroach character at the end.
I hate it. And they make out in this children's movie.
Yeah, briefly, but I don't love that at all either. But I do at least appreciate the fact that the writing in the movie acknowledges that that's crazy also. Even the turtles are dude, that's gross. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, at least there's that.
Yeah, and whatever. Yeah, I think a lot of any issues I've heard about this seem to revolve around Splinter and his thing.
He is one of two big issues I have with this. It's the two issues that I just can't resolve. So
okay.
Sorry, I'm the party pooper this episode.
No, that's fine. But I think it's better to talk it out because, hey, maybe when you talk it out, and we don't have to agree on every movie, that's fine. And I'm not disagreeing.
No, we don't.
I'm also not disagreeing that I had some issues with the movie, even though I enjoyed it. Splinter was one of my issues with the martial arts thing. I don't disagree. I guess that also brings us to another one of the main characters in April O'Neil. So in this iteration, April O'Neil is a high school student who aspires to be like a news reporter, and she gets nervous and like pukes on her first thing, and then the teenagers are messing with her, writing April will puke on her thing and stuff like that, and her motivation, at least for the first part of it, is the same as the Turtles, where they're just like, hey, if I can do some cool shit, people will like me and be accepting. Because I do feel like that's the overall driving force of this movie, is acceptance.
Everyone's the villains, the Turtles, April, Splinter, every single person wants to be accepted. It was for who they are, and the message is fucking accept everyone for who they are, and I love that message.
Yeah, I agree. I dug that too. I thought that was cool, and that was also an interesting take on this, to give it, to give the Turtles, at least the first film, like this whole type of thing before, we get into the other stuff, which was in the mid-credit scene and everything. So, yeah, I guess with April O'Neil, that was the change that was there. She's not like an adult, an established reporter and stuff like that. She's a teenager. So I thought that was an interesting choice to make her more. She's the same age as the Turtles, basically. In this.
Right.
I liked it. I didn't mind that. The actually showing her puke part, I guess, was a little.
It's a bit weird, much, but whatever. I mean, it's Finn liked it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So yeah, what did you think of April O'Neil and the change?
So I never love kidifying of things, and so of course, like, I don't love that they put her in high school. But I get it. Like, I'm not mad about it. Like, it's not like I'm like, it's not like my Splinter problem. I'm like, it's not the April O'Neil I know, but I get why they did it. It makes them more of a team. They're on the same wavelength. It kind of does open up this weird anthropomorphic bestiality relationship or romance.
Well, April shut it down
between
at the
Leo
end.
and her.
When they go to the prom at the end, April does shut that down. It's like, as friends, right? And Leo's like, oh yeah, as friends.
She does. But hey, you got to go big in the sequel. But yeah, I don't love that they made her a high school student. That's all I didn't like about her. Like, I actually do like what they did with her character. I love the fact that, like, she gets that star in her head. She's like, what the fuck you guys doing? Like, I know she didn't curse, but like, you hit me in the head with a star. And I love the running joke that the helmet keeps saving her, and the point where she's like, wow, this helmet's great. Like, so like, I actually did like her character. I just didn't. But this is like not a Splinter thing. Splinter thing is, I think it's a problem with the movie. This is, I just am not crazy about it because of what I see the Turtles as, but I think this works in the movie. I think.
Yeah, I actually like this choice to, like you said, make them more of a team, and like, this does make more sense that since they're all teenagers, that she would be more relatable to them. So I don't mind that decision.
Yeah, and especially at the end where, spoilers, they go to high school. So if that's where this is going, that makes complete sense, because now they can do high school shit with April O'Neil in the next movie, or if they're making this a television show, whatever the hell they're doing with it.
Yeah, well, that part we'll save that for a minute, because the high school choice, them attending school, didn't love that part. But
no, I don't love it either. But
no.
I mean, at least it makes sense. It's in line with why they put April O'Neil in high school.
Yeah. So I guess that brings us essentially to our villains. I mean, and that starts off with Baxter Stockman, who we get.
No, it doesn't.
To start the film.
No, it doesn't. That's not Baxter Stockman. That is a character named Baxter Stockman.
Yeah, that was like, do you get Giancarlo Esposito to voice Baxter Stockman?
Yeah.
And he's done in one scene?
And because you've decided on this insane retcon where, like, in the original, some animals became mutated and some humans became mutated. And the humans that became mutated, it became part of their mutant personality, right? Baxter Stockman was a fucking brilliant scientist who became a fly because he was playing around with mutagen and he screwed up. This is a guy named Baxter Stockman who creates a Fly-like character that should be Baxter Stockman but isn't, because they have insanely decided to retcon this and be inflexible on it. And this is the second part of my big problem with this movie.
So was Baxter Stockman the character you didn't have? That's all you didn't have?
No, it was not Baxter. I actually, not only did I have
that was
Baxter Stockman then, I have since rebought only 2 Turtles figures. And Baxter Stockman is one of them. It's now in my son's room because I bought it used. But my son now has a Baxter Stockman 90s Turtles.
Nice.
He's had it for a while.
Yeah, this was an interesting choice here because as much as I don't like the fact that Baxter Stockman does not become the actual Fly, which I've always taken as kind of a joke with the Fly and stuff like that, like the film The Fly.
No, right, and well, I think it is a joke. It is a take on that. That's it. That's part of why the character's so fun.
Yeah. On the other hand, though, I will say I liked Superfly. I liked Ice Cube's. I liked the voice work he does in this, and I like the character of Superfly. I don't like the fact that he replaces Baxter Stockman.
Yeah, I mean, here's
sense.
The thing: is that just could have been Baxter Stockman, as voiced by either Ice Cube or Giancarlo Esposito.
I agree.
And I think one of the big things as a fan of this franchise that I'm kind of really disappointed with about this movie, and I think this is the appropriate time to bring it up, is it says they have a lot of these characters in here, but they don't. They have a guy named Baxter Stockman. That is not Baxter Stockman. They have a frog named Genghis Frog, except that's not Genghis Frog. And by the way, what a waste of Ty Burrell. I always mix up his name with the
give me 1 second.
But he's the guy. He's a really, really funny comic who's like his only line in this movie is about his name. Like, I'm Genghis Frog. That name is whack.
Oh, Hannibal Buress.
Hannibal Buress. That's it. I always get him. I always get the name mixed up. I love him. I was excited to see him. He had 2 lines. Did they have Ray Fillet in this movie? Because I bet you can only tell me 2 things about Ray Fillet. His name is Ray Fillet, and he likes to sing.
Yeah.
Post Malone. And they spent a lot of money on Post Malone.
Yeah. To
come in and record, I'm Ray Fillet. I mean, that's not Ray Fillet. And then Bebop and Rocksteady, that's not Bebop and Rocksteady. Those are 2 15-year-old mutant warthog, a 15-year-old mutant warthog and a 15-year-old mutant rhinoceros that were not gang members and had no history with each other and are now teenage mutant ninja or whatever, teenage mutant, whatever the fuck they are. And they become good guys at the end. Everyone becomes a good guy at the end. Like, none of these characters are anything like they were at all in any incarnation that I know. So that was also my big thing. It's like, you tell me you have all these characters and you've literally just hired a famous person to say 3 lines. That's not a character.
Yeah, I would say Rocksteady and Bebop. I have some, by the way, voiced by Seth Rogen and John Cena.
Right, and the voices were fine, but those were not the characters.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting to have Superfly pretty much have all these characters, at least their names, in the film as his kind of like crew. And yeah, the fact that they, at the end of the movie, again, spoilers, they end up all living together with the turtles and stuff like that. But I'm assuming that at the end, or in the beginning, in the second movie, or the series, I believe the series is coming next, that's gonna get broken up somehow. Because I didn't love that part of it, but I was being more on the air of, okay, this is a very early origin story, so I'm being more patient to see where that goes with the results of the end. One character I did enjoy, though, in this film, and he gets a lot of time, voiced by Paul Rudd, was Mondo Gecko.
Yep, I agree.
I liked Mondo Gecko in this.
Yep. And here's the thing. I wanted to bring this up. Mondo Gecko, they should have chosen not a host of characters. They should have chosen 4 characters outside of what's his face, Fly guy, right?
Superfly.
And they all Superfly. And they all should have done what Mondo Gecko and Mikey does. Because if you realize, Mondo Gecko mirrors Michelangelo's energy.
Mhm.
And that's the moment where both sides go, oh, we're not that similar. We're not dissimilar. We're kind of the same. They don't want to kill anyone, you know. And that kind of, like, if you had characters who mirrored each of the turtles, like maybe Genghis Frog, because in the cartoon, in the original lore, I know not as interesting as we hired a famous guy and gave him 3 lines, but the Genghis Frog actually was part of 4 frogs from, I think, Florida who were mutated, and they were kind of like the Southern Ninja Turtles, except they were like, you know, Southern frogs. Like, give me a villain to match the energy of each of those turtles, and give me a reason for them all to come together. But this literally is just, we're fighting. Hey, I like Mondo Gecko. Hey, I like Mikey. Hey, I don't want to kill anyone. Hey, you know what? None of us wants to kill anyone except for the Fly, because the Fly is the only evil one for some reason, even though we were all created the same.
Well, I do think, though, that Superfly being evil, to me, it does, again, go within the story, does make sense, though, because to him, he sees that humans treated his dad like shit, so fuck them. Basically, I'm going to go ahead and get revenge for them killing my dad.
No, it's not. My thing isn't that he's evil. It's like, how come everyone is just going with him until they're not? That's my, like, how come, like, no one is going to stick with him? There's not one real villain. Like, you know, you've give us Leatherhead, which I don't know why Leatherhead is here, considering that was a person who was mutated into a gator who was living on the bayou. Makes no sense. Or the female bug, who actually in the cartoon was an exterminator who was transformed into the last thing he touched was a bug. Of course, not as interesting as just something who makes out with a rat, I'm sure. But that's the thing, is you have all these like extraneous characters. Like, no, take some of these characters, make one of them stick with him. Make the fucking bug or Ray Fillet or someone be like, nah, he's right. Like, but literally, like, everyone cuts and runs and becomes a good guy, like, in a snap of a finger, except for him, and he goes full tilt evil. And it's like, I don't know. So, no one's a bad guy except for him.
The guys who probably should have done that, if you're going to go that route, would probably be Rocksteady and Bebop, because
yes, 120%.
Yeah, we're assuming that, again, we'll get to the mid-credit scene in a second, what's being set up there. You would assume that they're going to have to be villains at some point. So I just don't know how that happens. Yeah, there's some cool stuff. And by the way, there is a very cool nod to the creators, Lyard and Eastman, where they go to Eastman High School.
Yeah, that's cool.
And Lyard's is the pizzeria where they have their pizza with April for the first time. So I thought that was a cool nod in a way. And there's also an Avengers Endgame reference, which is made, which I thought I got a kick out of too. And Seth Rogen, I saw in an interview, he mentions that, yeah, the Turtles definitely would have seen Avengers Endgame. That's why he threw that in there.
I will say this, though. I did enjoy the Avengers Endgame reference. Mm-hmm. I did enjoy the Knicks. Was it the Knicks they said when in the beginning, like, you know, we went to see the Knicks last week. I enjoyed that reference. Yeah. I do think, though, that this movie is really running the risk of dating itself very badly with a lot of references. Like, we saw the Knicks, but then we saw Adele, and then, yo, this is Riz. And, like, it was throwing so many recent pop culture things in there that I'm like, oh, guys, you better, like, Endgame will be around. And people know the Knicks, people know Endgame, right?
Yeah.
But, like, you guys better hope that, like, all of these or most of these references that you're making continue to be relevant, because, I mean, if you ever seen an 80s movie that makes a lot of 80s references that, you know, looking back, it's like, shit, that this dated itself badly. And I'm kind of afraid that this might have done that. So it depends on how things go, but it did make a lot of references.
No, there was a lot of references, which, again, with Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg involved, you're going to get a lot of pop culture references in there too. Listen, who knows? By the time these things get dated, whatever ones are, Turtles will be rebooted again for the 600th time anyway. So
there you go.
It just keeps happening.
And like I said, ignore every negative thing I said about this. My 3-year-old fucking son loved it. Your 3-year-old child will love it, I'm sure. Go see it. Take your kids to see it. That's like, ignore every negative thing I said. I just wanted to bitch and moan cerebrally about this kids movie, and now I've done that. Go see it.
No, but I do think though that I don't know. Again, for me personally, I took this film as I thought that they were trying to encompass, yes, besides selling toys to kids, all the old ages of fans that enjoyed Ninja Turtles at some point. Like, there's plenty of jokes in here that a kid, like, a 3-year-old or anyone who's under a teenager, they're not going to get some of the jokes that we're getting. Where like, yeah, an awkward teenager would do that.
Yeah, and hey, this is not for me, and that's fine. But it's not bad. It's just not something I enjoyed. That was all. But again, like, I do think that, and I also do think that has to do with I'm not familiar with any of the other stuff. So, like, if you've been keeping up with Turtles, this might be something where you watch and go, "What the fuck is this idiot talking about?" This is a natural progression, like, So I'm willing to admit too, like, this is just not an area I'm really versed in anymore.
Yeah, again, for more or less, neither am I either. But again, to me, I don't care any of the other references. The other iterations don't matter because, again, this is starting from scratch and doing their own thing with it. One of the gripes I did have, though, before we get to the post-credit scene, was the fact that, once they save the day and everything like that, the Turtles go ahead and go to high school. And that's what they've always wanted to do. They're finally being accepted because they saved the city and everything like that. And people actually are welcoming them. I like the idea that, yes, that's what the theme of the movie is about, being accepted. So on one hand, it makes sense. On the other hand, you're like, you guys are the Ninja Turtles, the ninja part, stealth, lurking in the shadows. That's all done. There's none of that. Doesn't really add up.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I wouldn't be shocked in the beginning of the next time we see this group, whether it be the TV show or next movie, that we find out, oh yeah, they weren't accepting of us, and they told us to go fuck off, basically, and we're back there.
Which, honestly, we're not covering the show on this, right? Like, I'll cover another movie.
We don't even know when it is. We don't even know when it's happening. So,
all right,
we got a lot to discuss that.
Like, if they do that, I would be pissed. Like, I don't know. Like, you wrote yourself into that corner. You make it work.
I don't know. I just wonder where they're gonna go with that, because to me, I didn't love that they left off there. But one thing I did love, though, where they set up, is the mid-credit scene. So the mid-credit scene being that they, set up. I'm sorry, let me get her name again, because she's kind of like the one pulling the strings throughout the movie. Cynthia Atrome, who's voiced by Maya Rudolph.
I don't even know who she is. Like, if she's in the comic, or I don't know who that character is.
No, she's the one who's running the organization and makes the ooze. And
she's the milker.
She's the milker, essentially.
She milks.
Yes. Apparently, she's stalking the Turtles and everything, and she's looking to. She says to bring her the Shredder, and we get a shot of Shredder. He's being set up to be next. So I'm like, okay, here we go. Shredder's going to be introduced. He'll be the next villain. I don't mind the fact that they didn't go with Shredder as the main villain in the original movie, in the first movie. Not an issue for me. But yeah, Shredder looks like he's definitely intact, and I'm curious to know, what they do with him, and is he or is he not going to have a connection to Splinter in this at all?
Well, how could he?
I don't know.
What connection could they have?
I have no idea, dude. I'm just saying that I'm excited.
I got my name because I was a pizza chef and I shredded pizza. And there was this rat that used to sit on my head and help me cook. He'd pull my hair. I'll get that rat.
I don't know. And then after that, see where they go with. They introduce Kang and everything like that, and the Terradrome and all. Who knows where it can go? We know there's a lot of lore to go. So Casey Jones can be introduced in the next film.
I actually thought they were introducing him. Like, there was a scene where someone was chasing Splinter, and it looked like Casey Jones. I'm like, wait, are they introducing Casey Jones as some fucking like racist beaten down like rats? Rat people.
Rat people.
But they didn't, thankfully. Thankfully, they didn't.
So yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
I will say that this movie did get a genuine laugh from me. I do want to share this. It was when the fly, Superfly, like mutates, and it's like I'm part whale, and like my legs are like 100 horses, and then they have like the thing that's supposed to like undo the mutagen, the mutation, and they throw it at him. And it hits him, and even he recoils. Everyone looks, and just one horse breaks off and runs away. And he just goes, "I didn't need that one horse." That got a genuine fucking laugh for me.
Yeah, it's just funny though, because it's like, yeah, no, it's complicated. Like, I don't love the fact that they did that with Baxter Stockman, but I enjoyed Superfly. So
There were parts that were enjoyable. It's just there's no reason that shouldn't have been Baxter. That should have been Baxter Stockman, and I don't care which of the two voiced him. They're both brilliant.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so whatever. We didn't fully agree on Ninja Turtles, but I think our the points of contention we kind of essentially agree on that.
I think we agree on the points of contention. I think you just enjoyed it more than I did. I think that's all it comes down to. It's like we agree what worked and what didn't. It's just what worked better for you than it did for me. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think there was more good than bad that outweighs it with the changes as well. I didn't mind most of them. Yes, I can't disagree that all those characters didn't need to have those names and do that. And there's more of just waiting to see what's going to happen. Like, when Shredder is involved, does he find a way to get Rocksteady and Bebop to turn bad and run with him and stuff, and then sort of kind of like corrects in ways to the original that we know of or not?
And I wouldn't mind that. Like, if they do that, if they kind of like give me some, and don't just throw names in there. Like, I think that's what I think as a fan, that's what pissed me off, because I looked at the not the character list, I looked at the actors before I saw this, and I was like, wait a minute, Wingnuts in this? And like, because I know all these stupid characters because I had their goddamn action figures, and so like this one's in it, and this one's in it, and this one's in it, and then just like to see. And by the way, the answer to which Ninja Turtle I didn't have,
what was it?
Ray Fillet.
Oh wow!
Was the only one I couldn't find, and he was the one I was most excited to see, and that really pissed me off because it's like, I know more about you from not owning you than I do watching this movie.
And there's more characters to go. Like I said, Casey Jones,
right.
the Rabbit, Yosabi Yojimbo,
the Rat King. But like, take your time with these characters. That's all I'm saying. Like, don't just say, "Hey, they're called this," because they're not. They're called that, but that doesn't make them the character. And all you've done is burned good characters. Like, we'll never get to have a real frog creature. I forget his name right now, but or whatever, because they've already used it. Or Leatherhead, like they've already used it. They've already burned it. So like, just don't burn good product. Like, actually use them.
Agreed. All right. So that pretty much does it for us this week. Thanks for joining us as always. I appreciate it if you joined us on Facebook. Check out Granny's PhD's Facebook group. There's a bunch of cool stuff. We drop stories and other crazy shit on there all the time. So, there's a lot of fun stuff there. So check that out. Check out Pop Culture Pros and popculturepros.com, because that's what we are presented by. Checking us out on YouTube. Subscribe to Pop Culture Pros. Twitter. Follow at Pop Culture Pros. And if you're checking us out on the audio only, subscribe to Pop Culture Pros wherever you got your audio only podcast. A lot of cool stuff on the network as well. Jason and I will be back next week with another new movie. We will have Blue Beetle. So first early reactions have been pretty good so far, but we'll see how that goes. That could always be a mixed bag. We'll also have new episodes of My Adventures with Superman and Harley Quinn. So a lot of cool stuff to check out. So we will see you guys next week. Peace.
Later.